Part 1, Starlit Echo. To be honest, I never fancied myself a hero. Heroes are for ballads, and I'm more of a scoundrel and a scapegoat kind of guy. But when you're an anomaly containment officer in the Zainara sector, sometimes heroism finds you whether you like it or not. The day when my life spun off-axis began like any other in the sunless system of Gliese 667 cc. The massive, synchronized tides glowed silver under the light of a nearby gas giant, whose luminescence never wavered. The space around the planet was filled with faint whispers of electromagnetic radiation, more felt than heard, like standing too close to an ancient radio, all static and melody. I was aboard the *** Lament of Stars**, a patchwork freighter that I'd aptly nicknamed All Rusty. Not because it was rusty, magnesium alloys don't rust, but because its hull groaned like an old sailor's aching bones. The ship was an extension of my being by this point, and I trusted it as much as I trusted my own shadow. But trust doesn't keep you alive in the endless expanse, attention does. Something peculiar was pinging on the scanners, a spectral anomaly hanging in the gravitational eddies of the outer rings. Another day, another ripple in the continuum, I thought. With my trusty mechanical sidekick, SB3C, clanking eagerly beside me, I set course toward the disturbance. SB3C, or Speck, as I'd affectionately dubbed it, was a clunky amalgamation of gears and sensors, reliable in its own temperamental way, much like a loyal hound that occasionally bites the postman. The closer we got, the eerier it became. The anomaly wasn't just a blip, it was a void, an emptiness where matter should be. As I drifted closer, my instruments blinked and sputtered, overwhelmed by the specter yawning before us. It was then that I first felt it, a pull, a gentle tugging at the edges of my mind, like trying to recall a dream slipping into memory's abyss. "Speck, remind me why I ever took this job," I muttered half to myself. "Perhaps because you failed at everything else." Its voice crackled back, layered with static sarcasm. I smirked, readying for whatever bizarre experience awaited. Little did I know just how bizarre it would be. We breached the anomaly's threshold, and reality itself seemed to fold. A colossal structure dominated the void, an alien megastructure in suspended animation, its surface shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. It reminded me of a nautilus shell, spiraling into infinity and out of the fabric of known space. Then came a sound, a chorus echoing through the cockpit and resonating in my bones. Not a noise, more of a mental vibration. The ship's systems dimmed, threatening to lull into the same stupor I felt creeping through my veins. Was this a weapon, a trap, or something profoundly different? Only the quick jolt of my adrenaline kept me from drifting into oblivion. I snapped back, throttling the ship away from the megastructure. My heart pounded a staccato warning. "What the hell just happened, Speck?" I gasped, my voice hoarse. "Unknown anomaly," it responded, its tone eerily composed. "Recommend further investigation or immediate retreat." As my mind wrestled with the implications, a cold realization settled in. This wasn't just any structure. It was a sentinel, a guardian or prison that had awakened. The implications were as vast as they were terrifying. We circled around, getting a wider angle, scanning for any signs of life. That's when I noticed it, a flicker of motion. An alien craft, sleek and bathed in iridescent light, emerged from a concealed hangar. It glided forward with a grace all Rusty could only dream of. "Great, just what we needed," I mumbled. The craft hailed us, a garbled transmission that Speck translated into something resembling Earth Standard. "Identify yourself and state your purpose." My mind raced. Anomaly Containment Officer, 4th Class, name's Reeve Kalloran. Just making sure you folks aren't planning on obliterating our sector. There was a pause, then a reply. "We are the Zequi. This region is restricted. leave or face consequences. Well, isn't that just peachy? Aliens with boundaries. But something about their tone suggested they were hiding more than bureaucratic red tape. Before I could respond, the anomaly pulsed again, this time with a tangible force that rattled the hull and scrambled my thoughts. It dawned on me. This was no ordinary containment, and my presence here was no coincidence. The stars had rearranged themselves indeed, and they had a bone to pick with me. "Speck, get us out of here," I ordered, my instincts overriding curiosity. But the craft blocked our path, locking us in a deadly dance within a cosmic cul-de-sac. "New plan," I muttered, equal parts terrified and exhilarated. "Let's find out what secrets are worth guarding in this cold, unforgiving dark." As we spiraled deeper into the mystery, one thing was crystal clear. All Rusty and I were in for the ride of our lives. Part 2, Shadows of the Abyss. There's something about being trapped between an alien craft and a cosmic enigma that sharpens the senses. Maybe it's the adrenaline, maybe it's terror, or maybe my mind just wanted this story to end with me being something other than space debris. The Zequi craft hovered before us, an elegant predator sizing up its quarry. Its hull glimmered with a pearlescent sheen, like the scales of a deep-sea leviathan. For a moment, I found myself almost admiring its beauty, right before it powered up its weapon systems, a sight that could make any anomaly containment officer reconsider his life choices. "Speck, how's our shielding?" I asked, feigning calm. "Minimal at best," the droid chimed, its voice betraying none of the urgency I felt. "Recommended course of action, evade and negotiate." I chuckled grimly. Negotiate, right, like a fly bargaining with a web. I angled all Rusty just as the Zequi fired. Beams of azure light sliced through the void, missing us by a hair's width. The hull screamed under the strain like a symphony of tortured metal. I threw us into a barrel roll, the freighter's systems flickering in protest. "Reeve, may I remind you this vessel is not designed for acrobatics," Speck noted dryly, as tools and spare parts clattered around us. "Noted," I grunted, wrestling with the controls. "Just keep translating, maybe they can be reasoned with." The alien craft spoke again, this time with more urgency. "You cannot comprehend the forces you meddle with. Cease your intrusion." "Intrusion, I'm just here to sightsee," I shot back, hoping humor might diffuse the tension or at least buy us some time. I aimed all Rusty toward the edge of the megastructure, hoping to use its labyrinthine architecture as a shield. The craft pursued, undeterred, dancing through the spirals with an ease that was frankly insulting. We ducked and weaved through the structure's colossal arches and crystalline corridors, each turn revealing more of its unfathomable complexity. It was a playground of the gods, and we were ants trespassing in their domain. With each maneuver, I felt the grip of the anomaly tighten, an unseen force drawing us deeper into its heart. And somewhere in the dark recesses of that astral shell, secrets beckoned. The megastructure seemed to pulse with its own rhythm, a heartbeat echoing across time and space. It was alive, and it knew we were there. Then, just as hope began to wane, the Zequi craft faltered, its systems glitched by a sudden surge from the anomaly. It veered off course, vanishing behind a colossal column of alien alloy, an opening fleeting but there. I seized the moment, pushing all Rusty to her limits. We zipped down an unseen path, the freighter's hull leaving a trail of ionized particles in our wake. We entered a vast chamber, where the walls shimmered with luminescent glyphs, each pattern a haunting melody rendered in light. Amidst the luminescence, a figure stood, twice my height, its form a tapestry of shifting colors and textures. This was no Zequi. The being lacked a discernible head or limbs, more an abstract sculpture of energy than flesh. Its presence sang in my mind, a harmonic resonance that felt ancient and wise. "Welcome, interloper," it projected directly into my thoughts, its voice 1,000 whispers entwined. "You are the catalyst we have awaited." I blinked stunned. "You were expecting me." "In a manner of speaking," it replied, its colors shifting like a cosmic aurora. "We are the K'vari, custodians of the harmonic nexus. The anomaly draws those it deems worthy." "Well, that's flattering. I'm worthy." I glanced at Speck, who was dutifully recording everything, its sensors fixated on the alien. "What is this place?" I asked, trying to piece together the puzzle. "The Nexus is a repository of civilizations, a vault of knowledge and a crucible of destinies," the K'vari explained. "And you, Reeve Kalloran, bear a decision that will echo through epochs." Pressure much, I thought. What decision? But before the K'vari could respond, the chamber shuddered violently. The Zequi craft had regained its bearings, determined to complete its mission. "Your choice is imminent," the K'vari intoned, its form fading into the ambient light. "Remember, the Nexus reveals truths, but it is your heart that must decide." No pressure indeed. The stakes had escalated from survival to something far more profound, an opportunity to unlock the secrets of the universe or unleash its wrath. I steeled myself as the Zequi bore down on us, their intentions clear and uncompromising. It was time to choose, and I could only hope my instincts wouldn't lead us to ruin. In this starlit echo of creation, the cosmos and I were about to have a very important discussion. Part 3: Echoes of the Void. It's not every day you find yourself at the center of a cosmic tug-of-war, but here we were, caught between ancient sentinels and zealous guardians. You'd think the universe could cut a guy some slack, but no. Here I stood, heart thrumming like an overclocked engine, staring down a decision that carried the weight of stars. The Zequi craft drifted into the chamber, its glowing hull casting shadows over the alien glyphs. Their presence was like a cold hand on my shoulder, a reminder that ignorance was no excuse. "Reeve, the Nexus is destabilizing," Speck warned, its sensors cycling through data streams, searching for patterns in the chaos. I looked toward the spot where the K'vari had stood, though its essence now seemed woven into the very air. Its words echoed, choice, destiny, echo through epochs. No pressure indeed. The Zequi continued their barrage of warnings, their tone now tinged with urgency. "Withdraw from the Nexus. This cannot end well for you." I weighed my options. On one hand, escape seemed prudent. I've never been a fan of disintegrating. On the other, the K'vari's allure was undeniable. Knowledge, power, and God knows what else could be ours, if we dared. In that instant, inspiration struck. It was a reckless plan, but I was fresh out of sensible ideas. I toggled the comm to the Zequi frequency, hoping to strike a nerve. "All right, listen up," I barked, channeling the bravado of a man with nothing to lose. "We can either tear each other to space shreds, or you can help me figure out why this thing decided I'm special." The chamber pulsed, resonating with an unseen force. The Zequi hesitated just slightly, perhaps intrigued or wary. Either way, it was a foot in the door. "This is unprecedented," the Zequi laid, a figure draped in ethereal light, replied. "We do not interfere with the Nexus selection." "Funny, considering those weapon systems," I shot back. "Ever considered that maybe we should enlighten each other instead?" A tense pause followed. Then, with a collective hum, the Zequi craft powered down its weapons, though they remained poised for a quick reversal. Progress, I suppose, in a galaxy that prefers its mysteries unsolved. I addressed the Nexus, hoping the K'vari still lingered in its walls. "So, what's it gonna be? You wanted me here, now I'm calling your bluff." The chamber shifted, its glyphs surging with light, cascading like waterfalls of luminescence. A section of the wall slid apart, revealing a corridor that led deeper into the megastructure. "Proceed," the Zequi said, their tone laced with what I could only interpret as a mix of trepidation and reluctant curiosity. "The Nexus has opened the path." I nodded, piloting all rusty toward the corridor. The Zequi maintained a respectful distance, their presence both a shadow and a shield. The corridor unfolded into a sprawling atrium, a vast open space where tendrils of light coiled upwards, weaving through the air like ethereal snakes. At its center stood a dais, upon which floated a crystal structure, an intricate lattice of impossible geometry that defied logic and physics. Speck, ever the curious mechanoid, extended a sensor array toward it. "Incredible. This appears to be a harmonic core, capable of manipulating temporal and spatial dimensions." I stepped forward, drawn by an unseen force. The crystal pulsed in response, its surface reflecting fragments of past and future, moments entwined in a dazzling kaleidoscope. Instinctively, I reached out, my hand trembling as it hovered above the core. It felt as if the universe held its breath, waiting for the touch that would tip the scales. Then contact. A shockwave of energy coursed through me, electrifying and euphoric, a symphony of sensations that sang across every synapse. The core resonated with my thoughts, a conduit for my will. Visions unfolded, star systems born and annihilated, timelines converging and diverging. The multiverse danced before me, a cosmic ballet where every choice ignited 1,000 possibilities. In the depths of my mind, the Kevari's voice whispered, a guiding presence. "The Nexus responds to your spirit, shape it wisely." I blinked, focusing my thoughts. Memories of home, of the people I loved, the world I wished to protect, they filled the core, infused with the essence of my being. With a deep breath, I withdrew, the connection severing with a final, harmonious chord. The crystal dimmed, its task fulfilled. The Zequi approached, their demeanor subtly shifted. "You have harmonized with the Nexus. What now, traveler?" I glanced at Speck, then at the Zequi, and finally at the vastness beyond the atrium. "Now," I said, a newfound resolve steadying my voice, "we safeguard what we've learned together." For a moment peace lingered, a fragile truce amidst the vast cosmos, a flicker of unity in the shadowed void. As we turned back to the chamber's entrance, the path ahead seemed brighter, a little less lon. Really? In the heart of a sunless system, under synchronized tides, I realized that the journey had just begun. And for the first time, I wasn't alone. Part 4: Convergence of Realities. The megastructure's atrium faded into the background as all rusty and the Zequi craft emerged into the void. The stars twinkled in their indifferent majesty, and for a fleeting moment, the enormity of what had just transpired settled over me, heavy as fate itself. I had touched the heart of the Nexus. What that meant in practical terms was still nebulous, but there was a warmth now, a connection to the cosmos that pulsed gently with every beat of my own heart. The Zequi had acknowledged this, and in their eyes I sensed both curiosity and a hint of respect, a far cry from the malice that had marked our earlier encounters. As our ships drifted in a careful dance back toward the sector's edge, the reality of returning hit me. Speck was humming cheerfully to itself, likely flipping through the terabytes of information it had amassed in our brief communion with the Nexus. "Speck," I said, interrupting its reverie, "what did the Nexus do to me? Can you figure it out?" Speck's sensors whirred. "Preliminary analysis suggests a resonance alignment. You and the Nexus are now attuned. It may enhance our spatial navigation capabilities and other, as yet unknown, phenomena. Phenomena, I echoed. We've got enough phenomena to fill 1,000 lifetimes. Correction, Speck added with a hint of smugness. You have enough phenomena, I merely observe. I chuckled, but the gravity of the situation was undeniable. Whatever abilities I had now, the burden of responsibility pressed in from all sides. The Zequi, now escorting us through the labyrinth of gravitational currents, had become unlikely allies, and the implications of this alliance remained to be seen. Back at Zainara Station, a sprawling orbital habitat that served as the nexus for the sector, things were about to get complicated. The station floated like a metallic bloom against the vastness, each petal a docking arm busy with freighters and shuttles from myriad worlds. The usual bustle had a new edge of tension, a current of unease that even the cold void couldn't mask. The Zequi took their leave as we approached the station's outskirts, their leader offering a parting nod. We shall monitor the nexus from the periphery. Our paths may cross again. Here's hoping they don't involve lasers next time, I replied, a wry smile tugging at my lips. Until then. Docking was a routine affair, but as all Rusty's gangway extended to the station's core, I couldn't shake the feeling that this homecoming might not be as routine as it seemed. As I stepped into the station's bustling corridors, familiar faces greeted me, a blend of incredulity and relief. Word had spread fast, and I could almost see the headlines flickering behind their eyes. Containment officer returns with cosmic revelation. The station's administrator, a grizzled veteran named Oren, intercepted me before I could make it to the first tavern. His expression was a mix of concern and disbelief. Reeve, Oren started, his voice carrying the weight of years spent navigating bureaucratic and celestial storms alike. This is a hell of a situation you've brought back with you. I know, I replied, suddenly feeling the fatigue of the past few cycles. But the Nexus is more than we imagined. It's alive. Oren's brow furrowed. And what about the Zequi? Our last reports had them as hostile. Turns out you can reevaluate a hostile when they get curious, I shrugged. We might have a truce, sort of. He nodded, contemplating the ramifications. We'll need to prepare. Rumors are already circulating. Other factions will be interested, and not all of them friendly. Before I could respond, a tremor rocked the station. Alarms blared, red lights flashing urgent warnings. My instincts kicked in, adrenaline clearing away the exhaustion. The destabilization, Speck intoned as it hovered beside me. The Nexus, reach may be affecting the station. Oren's voice cut through the chaos with the command of a man who'd faced worse. We need to secure the core systems. Reeve, I could use your expertise. Lead the way, I replied, the irony not lost on me that expertise now included dealing with reality-bending megastructures. The station's corridors were a whirlwind of activity, engineers and crew racing to contain the spreading anomaly. As we reached the core systems room, the air crackled with charged potential, the presence of the Nexus, only faint but unmistakable. With Speck's aid, I interfaced with the station's mainframe, my newfound abilities weaving through the data like an artist's brush across canvas. The Nexus energy coursed through me, a guiding light amidst the digital storm. Stabilized, Speck reported as the alarm ceased, replaced by a quieter, steadier hum. For now. Breathing a sigh of relief, I turned to Oren. The station's secure, but this is just the beginning. He nodded, eyes fixed on the displays. Keep that resonance of yours in check, Reeve. We might just survive this. As the emergency subsided, a sense of calm returned to the station. But the questions loomed larger than ever about the nexus, the Zequi, and my place in this ever-expanding tapestry of existence. As I finally relaxed in the station's observation deck, the stars outside seemed a little closer, a little more tangible. They were paths waiting to be explored, stories waiting to be told. The universe had chosen me as its vessel, and now it was time to set sail on this newfound sea of possibilities. Part 5: Guardians of the Infinite. The universe had a funny way of keeping you on your toes. Just when you think you've got the rhythm down, it throws in a new tempo to trip you up. Standing on the observation deck of Zainara Station, the cosmos sprawled out before me. I felt the weight of infinite possibilities and infinite dangers alike. Each star was a beacon, a whisper of stories untold, destinies unfulfilled. After the station's systems had stabilized, the crew resumed their routines, though with an air of heightened tension. Everyone seemed to sense that the events of the past cycles were just the prelude to something much larger. The Nexus had opened the door, and now it was up to all of us to step through it. The Zequi's parting words lingered in my thoughts. Their unexpected alliance hinted at complexities beyond my understanding, a shift in the galactic balance that not even they could fully predict. Yet it was the Nexus, a cosmic entity of unfathomable power, that occupied my mind the most. Its harmonics still reverberated within me, an ever-present reminder of my connection to the greater tapestry. Days passed, each a blur of briefings and strategies, as Zainara Station prepared for the inevitable influx of interest from curious and ambitious parties. Speck and I were at the center of it all, my mechanized companion proving invaluable with its uncanny ability to sift through data with the precision of a jeweler's eye. And then came the first ripple in our carefully laid plans, a message transmitted via encrypted channels from a source we couldn't immediately trace. It was a call for assistance, its tone urgent and layered with static. Receiving a distress signal, Speck announced, its auditory sensors capturing the faint, faltering plea. Location, deep space, coordinates uncharted. Oren's gaze met mine across the ops table. Could be a trap, he cautioned. We can't afford to be reckless. True, I agreed, my curiosity piqued. But it could also be someone who stumbled onto something bigger than themselves. Sound familiar. Oren's lips twitched in a reluctant smile. All too well, Reeve, just be careful. With all rusty prepped and fueled, Speck and I set off, the stars blurring into streaks of light as we navigated the void. The coordinates led us to a region marked only by its emptiness, an expanse devoid of celestial landmarks, an anomaly in its own right. As we arrived, the source of the distress call emerged, a derelict vessel, its hull a patchwork of scars and scorch marks from a skirmish it clearly hadn't won. My heart quickened at the sight. This wasn't just any ship. It was an old Rion-class explorer, the same model I had piloted in my early years as a containment officer. Looks like they've been through hell, I murmured, guiding all rusty alongside the battered craft, its name barely legible through the debris. Aurora's Echo ****. We docked, the airlock sealing with a hiss, and Speck's sensors immediately went to work. Minimal life signs detected. Environmental systems in failure. Recommend immediate exploration. In the dimly lit corridors of the Aurora's Echo, silence reigned, punctuated only by the distant hum of failing systems and the occasional creak of the ship's settling frame. An eerie reminder of mortality in the cold, infinite night. We found the survivors huddled in the command deck, a handful of weary souls whose eyes spoke of desperation and gratitude. Their leader, a wiry man with a scraggly beard and eyes that sparkled with defiance, stepped forward, his hand outstretched. "Name's Lysander," he introduced himself, his grip firm despite the circumstances. "You have no idea how glad we are to see you." "Reeve Kalloran," I replied, gesturing to Speck. "This is my partner in crime. What's your story?" Lysander exhaled, weariness etched into every line of his face. We were part of an expedition, mapping uncharted sectors, looking for new resources. But we found something out there, something that didn't want to be found. His words sent a chill tingling down my spine. "The Nexus," I ventured, noting the flicker of recognition that crossed his features. "Or something like it," Lysander said. "A structure buried in dark space, hidden until we stumbled onto it. Our presence woke it up." His tale painted a picture of a venture swiftly turned nightmare. The entity they had disturbed retaliated with force, leaving the Aurora's echo adrift and crippled. Their call for help was a last gasp, a plea to the void. "What about this entity?" Speck interjected, its sensors probing the depths of Lysander's memory. His gaze grew distant. We didn't get a good look, but the moment we came close, it was like the universe itself shivered, a cold knot in your gut, a whisper in your mind. I shared a glance with Speck. The Nexus, or its kin, had a reach that extended into every corner of the galaxy, an enigmatic force that beckoned and warned in equal measure. The knowledge of its existence was a burden, a call to action. "We'll get you back to Zainara," I assured Lysander. "But first, let's see if we can get the Aurora's echo operational enough to make the journey." In the cramped quarters of the derelict vessel, under the flickering lights and the watchful gaze of the stars, we set to work. The task was daunting, each repair a race against the ship's failing systems, but failure wasn't an option. As we toiled, I realized that this was the path the Nexus had set us on, a journey not just of discovery, but of stewardship. We were guardians now, protectors of a cosmic legacy we barely understood but were entrusted to defend. The universe was vast, its secrets manifold, but here, amidst the echoes of forgotten dreams and the whispers of stars, I found a purpose. To explore, to learn, to weave the tales of the cosmos into something greater than us all. In the heart of the infinite, the journey continued, and the echoes of the void sang of paths yet to be walked. Part 6. Veil of Starlit Secrets. The cosmos enveloped us, a vast and echoing chamber where time seemed to stretch and fold like the pages of a forgotten book. Against this backdrop, the Aurora's echo flickered back to life, its systems humming under our relentless tinkering. We were still far from home, but the vessel was no longer a ghost ship adrift in the void. Lysander and his crew were tough, seasoned by the hardships of exploration, yet a shared sense of awe had taken root among us, binding our fates together. As all Rusty guided the wayward explorer back toward Zainara Station, the weight of our newfound knowledge settled across the cabins like a tangible mist. As we sailed through the deep, a transmission crackled through on a secure channel, Oren's voice, layered with static and concern. "Reeve, you need to see this. We've picked up unusual activity near the Nexus. Coordinates are incoming." I exchanged a glance with Speck, whose sensors whirred in response. "Looks like we're not the only ones curious about the Nexus," I said, my mind racing with the implications. "Shall we divert course?" Speck asked, ever the pragmatic one. I nodded, a decision made in the silence that followed. We have to. Whatever's happening out there, it could tip the balance. With a course correction plotted, we veered away from the path back to Zainara, setting our sights once more on the celestial enigma that had become the axis of our lives. The Aurora's echo remained on autopilot for the journey home, its crew needing the respite. As we approached the coordinates Oren had provided, the Nexus loomed ahead, its massive spirals casting shadows across the starfield. It glimmered with an ethereal light, pulses of energy rippling across its surface like the heartbeat of an ancient giant. What lay before us was a congregation of vessels, some bearing the unmistakable markings of independent factions and rogue explorers. Others were more elusive, their sleek designs masked by stealth technologies that blurred the lines of perception. "Looks like a party we weren't invited to," I murmured, adjusting all Rusty's scanners to get a clearer picture. "Multiple unidentified ships," Speck reported, its tone as steady as ever. "Detected energy fluctuations suggest active engagement with the Nexus." The implications turned icy in my veins. If these factions were attempting to harness the Nexus power, well, the results could be catastrophic. The Nexus was not a tool to be wielded lightly. It demanded respect, an understanding that had been impressed upon me from the moment it had reached out across the void. As we hovered on the fringes, a signal pinged through, a request for parley from one of the lead ships, a frigate bearing the insignia of the Free Traders Guild. Its captain, a brash woman with an air of command as unyielding as iron, appeared on the comm screen. "You're Reeve Kalloran," she stated, bypassing introductions. Her eyes were sharp, calculating. "Word is you have a way with the Nexus." "Depends on who's asking," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "We're interested in what it can do," she continued, undeterred. "And the Guild doesn't like being left out of the loop. We propose a collaboration." The offer hung in the air, tempting and dangerous. Aligning with the Guild would bring resources and manpower, but it would also bind us to their ambitions. Ambitions I wasn't sure aligned with the greater good. "Your offer's noted," I said carefully, "but the Nexus isn't something you just use. It's more unpredictable than a solar flare in a windstorm." The captain's expression didn't change. "Only unpredictable if you're unprepared. Help us, and we can ensure its potential is realized safely." I hesitated, the weight of choice pressing down like a star's gravity. Beside me, Speck remained silent, its analytical mind undoubtedly cataloging risks and rewards in equal measure. Before I could respond, a new element entered the fray, the return of the Zequi, their pearlescent craft materializing alongside us like spectral guardians. Their presence shifted the balance, their intentions unfathomable yet significant. The Zequi hailed us with a transmission of their own, their leader's voice resonating with a calm authority. "The Nexus must not fall into chaos. We cannot permit its misuse by those who do not comprehend its depth." Caught between the Guild's proposition and the Zequi's warning, the path forward was as clear as a nebula in a dust storm. The Nexus was a beacon, a guiding star amidst the darkness, and it was our duty to protect it, no matter the cost. With a steadying breath, I addressed both parties. The Nexus is a guardian of secrets, a thread in the cosmic tapestry. Any attempt to control it without understanding risks unraveling everything. The silence that followed was heavy with expectation, the eyes of the galaxy upon us as we navigated these treacherous waters. "We stand with the Zequi," I declared. Read, my voice unwavering. "The Nexus is not a prize to be claimed, but a legacy to be safeguarded." The captain of the Guild regarded me with a mix of respect and frustration, while the Zequi offered a nod of approval, their ethereal forms pulsing in harmony with the Nexus glow. Together, we turned our attention back to the Nexus, its mysteries still shrouded in starlit secrets. In this moment of convergence, we had taken the first step in a journey without end, a journey that promised to reshape the very fabric of the universe itself. Part 7: Fractures in Time. The Nexus glowed before us, a monumental enigma casting its light upon the gathered fleets, a celestial orchestra tuning for an unknown symphony. We stood at the precipice of discovery and disaster, and the weight of choice was enough to rival gravity itself. Aligning with the Zequi, we had committed ourselves to a path fraught with uncertainty. The Guild had withdrawn with their intentions veiled, leaving the space around the Nexus charged with unresolved tension. This alliance, tenuous and palpable, was our shield against the chaos that threatened to breach the harmony the Nexus demanded. But the universe, fickle and vast, had other plans. As the Zequi worked to stabilize the energies surrounding the Nexus, Speck busied itself with tuning all Rusty's sensors, harnessing the resonance that now thrummed through my veins. My connection to the Nexus felt like a second pulse, an echo of my own desires and fears. And then the Nexus sang, a song of vibrating silences and shifting realities. Its luminescent spirals flared, sending ripples through space-time, a ripple that trembled in my bones and danced across the fabric of my thoughts. The vast structure began to reshape itself, an intricate ballet of alien geometry folding and unfolding in response to unseen stimuli. "What's happening, Speck?" I asked, the ship's controls slick under my grip, my voice the only anchor in the flood of uncertainty. "Temporal flux detected," Speck replied, its sensors syncing with the Nexus melody. "The structure is reacting to an external disruption." As if on cue, space itself began to fracture, not in the cataclysmic sense, but as if reality itself were a mosaic, each shard reflecting a different timeline, a different possibility. These fractures revealed glimpses of alternate paths, worlds where decisions diverged and converged like rivers in a cosmic delta. The Zequi, unfazed by the trembling universe, maintained their vigil, their eyes fixed on the Nexus as if they could will it into compliance. But even their resolve couldn't stem the tide of uncertainty that swept through our thoughts. A crackle on the comms interrupted the chaos. A broadcast, raw and unfiltered, the voice of Lysander spilling through, urgent and edged with desperation. "Reeve, we need you back aboard the Aurora's Echo," he said. "We've detected a resonance anomaly that's disrupting our systems. It might be linked to the Nexus activity." With a nod to the Zequi, I acknowledged their watchful gaze. "I'll handle this," I assured them, veering all Rusty toward the Aurora's Echo, which hovered precariously at the fringes of the temporal storm. The transition from the ethereal glow of the Nexus to the relative dimness of the Echo was jarring. The ship's interior hummed with the anxiety of its crew, and I could sense their collective unease as I stepped aboard. Lysander met me with a grim expression. "Systems are going haywire," he said, gesturing to the flickering consoles, "and the temporal distortions aren't helping." "Let's see what we can do," I replied, settling at the controls beside Speck. The resonance within me vibrated in harmony with the ship, a strange symbiosis I was still learning to navigate. The crew watched with bated breath as we worked, tracing the source of the distortion to a point that pulsed with the same signature as the Nexus. As we triangulated its position, a realization struck me like a meteor impact. It was as if the Nexus was reaching out, seeking something in the tapestry of time. "Reeve," Speck said, its voice a beacon in the storm. "The distortion is centered around a temporal anomaly. It's as though two timelines are intersecting." The implications settled over us like a shroud. If the Nexus was tapping into alternate realities, it could unravel the delicate balance of our universe. The fractures in time weren't just cracks, they were pathways, each leading to a different facet of existence. With a deep breath, I focused on the anomaly, allowing the resonance to guide me, to attune with the shifting energies. The connection was tenuous, a thread of intent stretching across realities. And then, for a moment, clarity. The anomaly stabilized, its pulse settling into a rhythm that matched the Nexus song. The fractures in time, though still visible, ceased their relentless expansion. Lysander exhaled, relief mingling with awe. "What did you do?" "Just a little harmonizing," I said with a weary smile. "But the Nexus, it's searching for what I'm not sure." As we began the journey back to the Nexus, the weight of its secrets hung heavy in my thoughts. The universe was in flux, a living tapestry where each thread was a story yet untold. In the cradle of the stars, we were guardians of a legacy beyond comprehension, protectors of a cosmic harmony that stretched across the infinite. And as the aurora's echo slipped into formation beside the Zequi and all rusty, the path ahead beckoned, a journey through time and space that promised to reshape everything we knew. Part 8, Threads of the Cosmos. The Nexus loomed like a cosmic cathedral, its radiant patterns weaving an intricate dance of light and shadow across the void. Alongside all rusty and the aurora's echo, a host of vessels, a galactic congregation, drifted in reverent orbit, their crews drawn by the whispers of destiny and discovery. The temporal fractures we had encountered were more than mere disturbances. They were windows into the multiverse, glimpses of what could have been, what might still be. The Nexus had initiated this weaving of realities, and it fell to us to discern its intent and safeguard the harmony it sought. Back aboard all rusty, I convened with the Zequi representatives, their forms shimmering with a serene luminescence, their presence an anchor in the shifting tides of fate. "The Nexus seeks alignment," their leader intoned, the words resonating with the clarity of a bell chime in the silence of deep space. "It is searching for convergence, a moment where the strands of existence entwine." I nodded, the resonance within me humming in accord with their explanation. But why now? What does the Nexus hope to achieve through these alignments? The Zequi exchanged glances, an unspoken dialogue passing between them. "The Nexus is a guardian," their leader continued. "It preserves the balance of realities, ensuring that the multitude of paths do not spiral into chaos." A daunting task, even by cosmic standards. The thought of being part of such an undertaking left me both humbled and invigorated. The universe was calling, and we were at its mercy, players on a stage of infinite scope. But as we conferred, Speck's sensors detected a new development, a ship, sleek and cloaked in stealth, gliding through the shadows toward the Nexus. Its markings were unfamiliar, a design that spoke of advanced technology and hidden motives. "Unidentified vessel approaching," Speck relayed, data streaming across its screens like a digital waterfall. "They are attempting to interface with the Nexus directly." The implications were immediate and dire. Anyone attempting to interface with the Nexus without understanding its purpose risked triggering cataclysmic disruptions across the multiverse. We couldn't allow that to happen. "Lysander," I called over to the aurora's echo, "we've got company. Care to lend a hand?" His response was immediate, his voice laced with a mix of determination and resolve. "Let's show them what happens when you gate-crash a cosmic gathering." With the Zequi maintaining their vigil, all rusty and the aurora's echo maneuvered into position, flanking the intruding vessel. The newcomer, undeterred, pressed onward, its intentions as opaque as the void around us. Hailing the vessel, I injected authority into my voice, hoping it would cut through the static of potential hostility. "Unidentified ship, this is Reeve Kalloran. Cease your approach and state your intentions." For a moment silence reigned, a pregnant pause in which the universe held its breath. Then a reply crackling across the comms. We come in search of understanding. The Nexus calls to us as it does to you." The voice was calm, almost serene, yet underscored by an urgency that belied its words. Whoever they were, they believed themselves to be kindred spirits in pursuit of the Nexus truths. "We're all seekers here," I replied, choosing my words carefully. "And the Nexus isn't something you just plug into. It demands respect." "Our intentions are to learn," the voice responded, "to uncover the threads that bind us to the stars." The sentiment resonated with me, echoing the very ideals that had brought us to this point. But intentions, no matter how noble, could unravel without the wisdom to temper them. "Then join us," I offered, extending a bridge across the chasm of distrust. "Let us learn together in harmony with the Nexus." The vessel paused, its engines humming with potential energy, before slowly altering its course to rejoin the gathering. The tension eased, if only slightly, as we resumed our vigil under the Nexus' watchful eye. As the newcomer settled into orbit, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path forward was uncertain, fraught with challenges that would test the boundaries of our understanding. Yet within that uncertainty lay the promise of growth, of unity in the face of the unknown. The Nexus was more than just an anomaly. It was a beacon, guiding us toward a future where the threads of the cosmos wove a tapestry of shared destiny. In the quiet of the void, beneath the stars that had borne witness to countless eons, we stood at the cusp of a new beginning. And as the Nexus pulsed with radiant possibility, I knew that our journey had only just begun.